that stuff. So what I'm doing is that I'm working with I'm looking at different grips. Okay? Why is the grip the most important thing? Anybody? This is the part where you guys are going to get off your hands and raise your hands and speak. I'm going to call on you if I have to. This is my former assistant, Jeff Ritchie, by the way, so he knows all this stuff. Somebody back there said something. It's the only connection you have to the club. What's that? Except for putting. And that's a totally different animal as well. We can hunt down and shoot that thing a little bit later, okay? Talking about golf swinging. Okay? Very good. What else? Why is the grip the most important? It's the only connection to the club. What else? Yes?
Translates the body's motions to the club.
Translates, it predicts what the body's going to do? Would that be true? Okay, yes?
Direct control of the club face.
Direct control of the club face. What's the most important thing, face or path? Everybody that thinks path is the most important thing, raise your hand. You guys are bright. I'm not kidding you. I go to some places. I've been to Wisconsin. I haven't gone to Southern Ohio yet, so you can't rib those guys yet. But I've gone to some places where like half the room goes path. And then I go face. Who thinks face? Yeah. Raising your hand, by the way, is good for you. It gets the blood going, so don't be afraid. The other thing is that you guys will know this. This is another one of these obscure facts. If you stand for 2 hours a day, just standing for 2 hours a day will lengthen your life by 4 years. Who does those studies, by the way? How do you know that? How many years did you stand? I'm on my deathbed. If you had just stood for 2 hours a day, 4 more years. But anyway, that's like that stat that Dave Pels threw at us a long time ago, that 60% more shots would go in if the flag was out of the hole on a chip than when it was in. How do you know that? But anyway, that's to keep you up at night type stuff. Okay, so why else is the grip important? Is there anything else? Yeah. Attention level? It affects tension level. Yeah. Yeah. Feel. Feels back to that. Good, yeah. What? Leverage. Absolutely. Yes. Relationship to the face angle. Yeah. Anything else? You guys get all this. So when you give a lesson, do you have a okay, I am going to have this grip. I'm going to make sure he does this grip or she does this grip. Do you guys do that? You get me? I remember growing up, and I was growing up in golf. Everybody always said, "Oh, the grip's the most important thing," and I was like, I'd sit in the back room and go, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I was that guy, right? The grip's the most important thing. And then after you heard about the 15th time, you go, maybe the grip's the most important thing. And then one day I'm down in the back of the range with a guy named Bobby Bigonette, who's a pro at another club by, and we spent an hour and a half talking about why the grip was the most important thing and what goes on in the grip and how it affects posture. Have you ever seen anybody with a weak lead hand grip have a high lead shoulder? I haven't. Corey Pavin has a very weak left grip, right? And his shoulders are incredibly level to the ground. See if I've got Pavin in here somewhere. So this is Corey Pavin. So what you're going to see is that his hands are pretty low. His shoulder line is very, very level. And that's because of how he's holding the club. And who else has a weak grip? Nice. Jose Maria Olazabal. Now this is a pretty weak grip. And that's pretty level. It's not that it's not going to, the shoulder's going to be high. The left shoulder is going to be high. Because the left hand is on the club higher than the right. like this. There's the left hand right there. There's the right hand right there. Okay, so the left hand is always going to be high no matter what the thing is. They're not going to be dead level like this. There will be some change. But stronger grips, it's going to be much more. Who's got one of the stronger grips that you can imagine? Eddie Fiore. Yep. Who else? Who? Ah, yeah, Paul Azinger. Now look at that. Now I'll tell you the other thing that Freddie Couples has a very, very peculiar grip as well. And when I start talking to you guys about, there's terminology that I use when I discuss the grip. Okay? The typical terminology is strong and weak. I don't like that terminology. Because what does strong mean? And what does weak mean? What are the things that you're going to find when you start to write and speak about golf, which again goes back to the stuff on the media side of the world. You start writing about this stuff. Strong doesn't mean anything to the average person who picks up a club. They don't know what strong means, nor do they know what weak means. But if I say it's more in the fingers or it's more in the palm, now they can understand that. So I try to use that. I remember giving a golf lesson to a guy. I'll never forget this. He was taking the club back, and the club face was wide open at the top. Literally, the toe of the club was hanging like this. Okay? So I said, I need you to shut the face. That's what I said. I need you to shut the face in the backswing. So he went like this, and the toe hung like that again. I'm like, no, you got to do it more. And he kept going. After like 10 swings, I went, show me what shutting the face is to you at the top. And he went like this. And he put the club up like this. And the toe was hanging like that. And I go, why is that shutting the face? He goes, well, that's what somebody told me. Shutting the face was like this. I go, well, no, shutting the face is when the face of the club is pointing to the sky. He goes, oh, I call that open. Okay? So one of the other things that you have to understand is that, and again, I mean, I'll tell you a funny story, and again, this is the ADD part of me, but you'll get... Does anybody know who David Orr is? Anybody know? So David Orr is the head of the PGM program down at Campbell University in North Carolina. And we did a video for an instructional aid. And we're sitting down eating lunch, and after about 20 minutes, David Orr turns to me and he goes, Michael, you're a lot smarter than I thought you were. And I said, thanks. I feel like a champ right now. You sure know how to warm me up. But I actually did say thank you, and I meant that. And one of the things that you all need to understand is that, and the reason why I tell that story is because when I was teaching, I used to think I was a good teacher by how much I knew and how much I could prove to my student I knew. So I was talking about what goes on in the golfing machine, about, your power accumulator and creating all these different things, right? And I would share all that. This is a bad idea. And then I started teaching in a different way. I started not having any sort of, it wasn't an ego thing. I didn't care if they used their language. I didn't care if this guy wants to call this shut. Great, shut it or open it. I don't really care. As long as the club looks like this, I don't care if you call it a sandwich. I don't care. What you're going to find, does everybody know the show, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? You know why they have that show? Because most people can comprehend at about a third grade level. 93% of the stuff that you communicate to people is not auditory. I mean, 7% of the stuff that comes out of your mouth is actually getting into somebody's brain. Like, that's why some people talk more than others. It was not directed at Jeff. But my point is that when you communicate, you make sure they understand it. What David Orr said to me that day was, you speak so like the level of the intelligence is very low. And I said, yeah, because I want people to understand it. So I don't talk about things by design so that people are confused, because I want people to get better. So if I say you take this thing and you hit this thing over to that thing, they get it. So when you start to communicate, make sure that they understand. That's why I always say, do you understand what I'm talking about? Do you get what I just said there? Are you confused? Paul Azinger, that's a high left shoulder. You can see that his right arm is really bent. His left arm is straight as it possibly can be. Ended up with a back problem. Freddie Couples, the same thing. Has a grip that is actually a hybrid. It kind of goes through his fingers, but it also goes through his palm. So it's kind of like this, and then he grabs it like this. Also has a bad back. What I found is that in my studies, people that tend to have grips that are on the far side either way tend to get bad backs, because their body has to do something that's not normal or natural. It's also one of the reasons why I think people are hitting the ball farther, because with the golf clubs that they had, say back in the 60s, they had to do certain things. They had to make certain compensations in the move to get the ball up into the air. But thanks to the fine people at Titleist and people like that, they built golf clubs and golf balls that go up into the air. So now we can make motions where the body is more efficient. That's why the club goes faster. The club goes faster. The ball goes, it flies farther now. Not just because we have a better athlete. Here's another stat for you that you can chuck out there, by the way. This is all in the ADD world, so you're starting to get it now. This is pretty hectic. The average shoe size on the PGA Tour in 1993 was 9.5. In 2010, it was 11.5. That's a significant thing. That's significant. It's a bigger guy. It's a faster, better athlete. The average height of the PGA Tour guy now is like right around 6'1". That's your average height. That's what you're dealing with. Maybe a shade under. 6.5. Okay? So when you start talking about the grip, we want to make sure that the grip is in the fingers more or in the palm more. If I've got older people or people that need more club head speed, I'm going to get it more in the fingers. That's going to allow more leverage. It's going to create a different setup. It's going to allow them to hinge the club a little bit better and make it go a little bit faster when the body is not working quite as efficiently. If I've got somebody that wants to slow the face a little bit, then I'm going to get it a little bit more in the palm of the hand. But I don't use strong and weak. Try to stay away from strong and weak. Okay? So when you start to teach somebody and you start to question them about what they do, what they complain of, what's going on, if they hit it far enough, they hook it too much, blah, 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 start with how they hold this club. There's not one way to hold the club for everybody. But there is one way to hold the club for everybody to be efficient. Does everybody know who Julius Erving is? If I'm dealing with a Julius Erving who has a hand the size of a baseball mitt, they're going to get a lot of palm. Because they're going to get a lot of, and that's going to come way up the hand like that. So that grip is going to come through like that. If I've got somebody that's got a very small hand, I'm going to have it a little bit more like that. Because I need to get, has anybody ever hammered a nail? Just one day, just for giggles, just hold it dead in the palm of your hand and try to hammer the nail. You'll miss the thing. Because your elbow has to start to, because we want to create leverage. You're not going to go like this. You just aren't going to hammer a nail like that. You're going to go like this. And then when you take the leverage out of that, you're going to start to use your elbow. Okay? So the answer is there's one of the things that you need to understand, and this is the challenging part about like giving clinics, which is in effect what you do when you stand up and put some stuff on the internet. You're giving a clinic. Not everybody wears the same shoe. So you have to be able to adapt. Particularly when you start working with, like I do a lot of stuff with wounded warriors. And when you start working with people that have physical challenges, then you better be creative and understand how to get this golf club to get back to the ball so they can have some fun.